Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Catholic Talk Show. Today, we're going to be talking about all the crazy things in the world as if you haven't had enough.
We live in crazy times indeed, Ryan. Whether it's Trump feuding with the Pope, whether it's the Israeli troops destroying statues of Jesus, and so much more, let's talk about it. You live in crazy days, dude. Crazy times to be around, right?
Mucho loco.
It is mucho loco.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start for all the things that are going on, particularly in Catholic news, with Trump feuding with the Pope in the media, with him sharing an image of him as Jesus, with, Sean Hannity renouncing his Catholic faith because the Pope doesn't support war in Iran, and Hallow, the spiritual advisor to the president, just going absolutely crazy dispensationalist. But I think the place that we should start is probably the one that's freshest and maybe the most egregious, and that is Israeli troops taking a sledgehammer and destroying a crucifix statue in southern Lebanon. This came out, a lot of people said, oh, this is a doctored image. Why would they do that? And the Israeli government and the Israeli Defense Forces did an investigation. They found that it was true, that it actually did happen. And here, I'll share an image of it. Be warned, this is pretty upsetting to see, but here it is. Straight up, just sledgehammer to the face of a statue where they tore down the corpus off of a crucifix and then destroyed the statue. Ryan, what
is that military, like Hezbollah's stronghold there? Is that what they're going after?
I believe that's the justification in their mind for the war, for invading southern Lebanon. You're going after Hezbollah. Okay, maybe that's debatable whether that's a valid military operation, but what war function does this accomplish? What military objective has been achieved by destroying a statue of Christ, right?
Why do you hate Jesus so much?
Right?
Like,
what
did he do? Yeah, I don't know.
So, look, and here's the thing. If this was an isolated incident, that'd be one thing, and it'd still be really, really upsetting. But this seems to be a trend from what a lot of people call our greatest ally. Whether it's destroying churches in Gaza, whether it's last year around Palm Sunday, there was a video of an Israeli tank running over a statue of my patron saint, St. George, the patron saint of soldiers and pacifists. Whether it's the Israeli government denying Cardinal Pizzaballa, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, access to the Holy Sepulchre on Palm Sunday. There seems to be a trend here from our greatest ally that gives the impression of anti-Catholicism and anti-Christianity in general. What's your thoughts, Ryan?
I mean, yeah, I was there. I didn't know about this. But 10 years ago, I was with Jen there, and we ran into a priest and went to dinner, and we were just chatting it up. Like, yeah,
was that FSSP priest?
Yeah.
That dude's great. I love him.
Forget his name. Nice guy.
Father Akers.
Akers, yeah, Father Akers. Shout out, Father Akers. I know you're not listening, but yeah, he said he got spit on twice. He was wearing a cassock. I was like, what? So it was shocking to me. Well, because Israel is an ally to our country, right? I mean, like, think about why they're even there in the first place, right? Like in World War II and the concessions that were made to put them there, you'd think they'd have some sort of, like, I don't know, respect or consideration there, gratitude, whatever it is. But yeah, so that happened. So when I saw this, I wasn't as shocked, but yeah, no, man. I mean, the Christians aren't at war with them. I don't think they haven't been at war with them for centuries.
right?
I mean, ever.
Well,
so I don't know where this comes from.
You can't deny that there hasn't been some history of Christians and Catholicism in the church impacting or persecuting Jewish people. That's a historical reality. That is a historical reality. But I mean, like you said, you could look at World War II, where Pope Pius saved the lives of tens of thousands and tens of thousands of Jewish people, and all of that
they
aside,
were great. They were grateful for that. Like,
sure.
I mean, it's a well-known fact. Yeah.
All that aside,
I mean, again, this is the internet. This is one stupid guy. I know a lot of Jewish people that are really
one stupid guy, right? It is a pattern. I mean, we see this time and time again in every military operation. It's like, it's like going to the bar, getting into a bar fight with your opposition, with your mortal enemy, and then punching some other dude who's just sitting over at the jukebox for no reason. Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
And it seems to happen time and time again, to where the point, it's like, it doesn't seem like a fluke. It seems like a pattern, right? And like you said, Christians do face a lot of demeaning attitude in the Holy Land. I've heard countless times of priests and people on processions and pilgrimages being accosted, spit on, and jeered at.
I'm convinced that in some circles they're taught to do that. Absolutely convinced.
Absolutely. And our supposed greatest ally, we're always fighting wars on their behalf. We're always bombing people. We're always killing people on their behalf. I don't know what America really gets out of it. Maybe that's beyond the depth of my geopolitical understanding, but it doesn't seem to be a great. Like, Ryan, if me and you were friends and the only time I ever called you is when I needed backup to get into a fight with someone that was bigger than me, you'd be like, dude, you'd stop answering my calls, right? Like, dude, I don't want to go start throwing hands every time you talk shit to somebody and you need backup because the other guy's bigger than you, right? Yeah. So we have that all going on. And, well, look, Ryan, we should be leaving for the Holy Land in 6 weeks. And this is the second time we've had to cancel a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, to go to the Holy Sepulchre, to go to the place where Christ was born, to go to the Sea of Galilee, to go where all these places where Christ lived, but seemingly Satan rules now, because every time we try to go, there's another new war going on there. And it's a shame. It's a pity. And I just, I think we should all double down on our prayers for peace there, but I think it's justifiable to ask why this keeps happening and why there's also the pattern of these kind of glaring anti-Christian acts by the Israeli government.
Yeah, I would emphasize that to government.
Yep.
I mean, because on that same trip, we met a Jewish guy that took me to Shabbats, and we had an awful lunch in his apartment, which, he's a old bachelor, but, it was like really sweet. The guy was nice, taught me about his religion and prophets and these traditions that they have. And I got to go. So there's good people everywhere. I don't doubt that. Especially on that trip, I learned Palestinians were decent people too, as well, So the conflict it's like you said, geopolitical. This is where the devil uses power and money and war and all these things that kill so many innocent people. And I'm not very well read on the conflict or anything, because I'm signing forms for my daughter to go see Bug's Life and attending character counts things with my other daughter and going to basketball games. So forgive me for not being well read on this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard to keep up with all of it. I mean, you have to be constantly monitoring the situation if you really want to know what's going on. And even then, it's all media narrative. Like, for example, I try to look up that image of that soldier destroying that statue of Jesus. Whenever I search for an image, it's all fine. But that particular one, everything was blurred out. And I didn't change the settings in my computer. So I don't know. That was an interesting thing. But, the situation over there is not good. It hasn't been good for a long time. But it also kind of speaks then to what else is going on, is that America has been pulled into this war in Iran really it's seemingly at the behest of Israel, because Israel is the one most impacted by a militarily strong Iran and a nuclear capable Iran, which I can understand the objective there. I really can understand Iran, the desire for Iran not to have a nuclear arm, being that it's a, I don't know, an Islamic theocracy, right?
Yeah, and
Who
then you
have
got
who have
Hezbollah,
funded
which is like a
terrorism,
gang.
right? Who's
You
funded
know?
by Iran, right? So look, I understand all this stuff, but we get pulled into that, and obviously, Pope Leo or any pope, whoever the pope would be at the time, speaks out against war, right? Pope Pius the no, it was Pope Pius the Ninth. I think it was Pope Pius the Ninth. He was so upset at the outbreak of World War I because he knew that all of the what he called his children would be killing each other, and he died out of just grief from that. I remember back when America was going to invade Iraq in 2003, and everyone was giving crap to Pope John Paul II because he was speaking out against this war. And Pope Leo speaks out against the war in Iran, and Trump goes off on him. And now you have Trump in the media. Here, I'll just play the video, dude, because I can't even describe it.
This guy's a loser.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much. Let's.
He's the Democrat from Chicago.
Let's see what old Donnie J has to say about Pope Leo here. Ready?
Yeah.
We don't like a pope that's going to say that it's okay to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want a pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. He's a very liberal person, and he's a man that doesn't believe in stopping crime. He's a man that doesn't think that we should be toying with a country that wants a nuclear weapon so they can blow up the world. I'm not a fan of Pope Leo.
I don't think he's ever said anything about Iran having a nuclear weapon. Not to my knowledge.
I don't think Pope Leo has. For anybody who is not sure about this, Pope Leo has not come out and said, "I'd be all right if Iran has a nuclear weapon." In fact, every pope since 1960s, when John the 23rd put out the encyclical Pacem in Terris, has been very clear about anti-proliferation of nuclear weapon and all armaments in general. That is the default, the position of the Catholic Church is that countries should not aim for, achieve, or attempt to get nuclear weapons because of their destructive power and the amount of people they can and have killed.
Innocent people.
Why would yeah. But here's the thing that's going on. So Pope Leo is in Africa, and Africa is completely, there's so many different areas, particularly in Nigeria, where there's Christians being persecuted. There's wars all over Africa, largely because they still live in the fallout of post-colonialism, where Europeans just drew random lines on a map and didn't take into account the reality of the people there. But there's tons of war there, and Pope Leo is on this apostolic journey to Africa, and he speaks out about war, and he says that the world is full of tyrants bringing war, and that God is not on the side of people who wage war. And Trump loses his shit over this, and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe Pope Leo is talking about me." And here's the thing: Pope Leo was not talking about Trump, but Trump hears this and says, "Well, that sounds like me. That sounds like criticism of me." Well, one, dude, if the shoe fits, wear it. But number two, like you hear this, you hear, "Oh, there's tyrants," and he's like, "Wait, am I the tyrant?" Well, no, Leo's a loser. I'm not a tyrant. But he wouldn't react this way if he didn't at least subconsciously know that maybe there's some truth to it. But him going out and attacking the Pope and saying, "Oh, well, he's soft on crime." What, the Pope is soft on crime? As far as I remember, Ryan, the Pope hasn't really been very strong or weak or have an opinion on crime since they kind of got rid of the papal executioner 600 years ago. The Pope doesn't really have a crime policy. He's not a politician. He's not out there saying, "Well, we need to divert more forces to border patrol," or we need more funding for the police. That's just not his role. His role is to call for peace, is to be an emissary and to be the vicar of Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace, right?
Yeah.
So for Trump to go off, it's just wild times, dude.
Yeah, and then the internet doesn't make it any better. You've got all these people now who really shouldn't have ideas put into humanity that are given keyboards to
Yes.
do that. And so they're, it's like, like you said, Sean Hannity, I went to theology school and now I'm dissociating myself with the Catholic Church. It's like, oh, okay. All right. So you never received God's mercy. Like, is there any connection? I got kicked out of the seminary, man. I'm still a Catholic, right? Like, so
I don't know. They're not backing the war in Iran, and
yeah,
I'm all about war because war is good for ratings. So I'm no longer Catholic. Number one, that's a crazy ass take. That because the Pope isn't backing a war in Iran, you're renouncing your religion. Well, that just sounds like seeds sown on rocky ground, dude. That soon as the sun came up and it got trampled on, those roots
dry up,
withered up pretty quick.
Yeah. The other thing too is like, well, first of all, the Pope didn't say that, so now everybody thinks the Pope said whatever Trump said, and so there's this like echo chamber of just now again people with thoughts and ideas that shouldn't be able to shouldn't be given some sort of publicity from it. But the other thing is like, you can fact check this stuff more easily now than ever, right? With like AI, yes. It'll search the internet for you. It'll search like presentations that the Pope has made or comments that he's made in other areas. So, if you just take like one slight step back and say I love the argument that he's never said anything about the genocide going on in Nigeria and these other African countries. He's never said anything. Like, first of all, he wasn't asked about that by this reporter. Okay. So you have to be able to step back and say he was asked this particular question. He gave a general response that war is not good. He didn't say anything about nuclear weapons or any of that other stuff, that this was all brought out. But now you've got people saying he's not saying anything about, and it's like that's factually false, right? Like,
yeah,
it's like,
right. And
so
he
now
has
you're
said
lumping,
stuff. He has specifically said stuff. Yeah. But because it wasn't in your algorithm, it wasn't in your feed, it didn't count.
Yeah.
Right. Like, are you really going and searching for all the statements from all the nuncios and all the releases by Vatican News and the press and reading all of his speeches? No, you're not. You're just like, well, he hasn't come out and said, to hell with all Muslims. He's soft on crime. And he hasn't said, Iran should be blown, all the bridges and power plants should be blown up. So he's pro-Iran or anti-Trump. Like, it's just crazy how poorly informed but aware people are of what's going on in the world. They have, what do they call it? The Dunning-Kruger effect. They have limited knowledge and they think they're very aware of it. I think that might be the reference.
Yeah. And like there, like you said, there's nuncios, there's orders that are created in the church. There's the idea of subsidiarity that, local churches, dioceses, countries, these are places where the church is more involved in crisis that is going on or things that are going on in their local area. The Pope's job is to teach, right? Is to hold up Catholic Church teaching, which none of it, has. I mean, we've criticized, popes or Pope Francis and some of our bishops for, this idea that open borders is something that's a reality because, we need to take in refugees. And it's like, no, there's a precedence of laws that are there for countries to be protected by their own governing systems. Right. So I don't know. It seems like there's this echo chamber of people just like talking about things that it just doesn't have the contextual reality that it should.
Yep.
But they feel good about it. They feel good about talking about it.
Allows them to have outrage, which a lot of times outrage is the replacement for compassion or grief or understanding. Like you spoke about open borders, and people are like, well, the Pope doesn't speak out about this enough. He's weak on crime and he wants our cities to be whatever. Pope Leo has specifically said, and this is a quote, every country has a right to determine who and how and when people enter. And then specifically said he is not for open borders. That could not be more clear, Ryan, that he is not for open borders, but people say he's a globalist because, Trump said so. And he said he's a globalist and he's for open borders and the Catholic Church just wants to import the third world into countries. No, he's saying, look, man, this is a biblical principle. Have compassion for the downtrodden, the outcast, for the stranger, for the immigrant. Have compassion for them. That doesn't preclude also upholding law, upholding immigration law. It's a both and. But people lack nuance to understand both and that's how you get into this world where everyone is so divided, and it's either I am super left or super right, and there's no ability to have any nuance or complexity on any issue. It's either like, look, man, I don't got time for that. I've got 3 seconds to watch a video that'll give you my talking points, and then I'm out, and then I will tell my brother or my mother they're dead to me because they don't agree with the opinion that I got from a 30-second TikTok video. And that really does happen, dude. It's crazy.
We need to go,
right?
we need to go make a bomb threat at the Pope's freaking brother's house. That's going to fix it. Yeah.
That happened. That literally happened. There was a bomb threat phoned in to his brother's house in Chicago because I could only imagine someone's like, oh, Trump, he's anti-American, the Pope, or whatever. Who knows, dude? But it's just crazy,
Yeah. Yeah. It's the internet's just making people dumber and more emotional.
It is. Yeah. It really is.
Like, I'm not going to go into all of it, but one of the institutions that I distrust the most is the media, because I have children and I have to protect them from the ideologies that they try to promote on kids and how they're receiving information and guiding them into principled like thought and understanding. And like, I don't know about you, but when I first of all, I don't go to news sites. Like I get news from people that I talk to mostly just because I'm busy trying to raise 7 kids on my own. But like, even when I look at it, I'm like, did this really happen? Then it's like, even AI would bring it contextually. It will provide me with context where I'm like, damn, these people are just like talking about stuff that it's just like, I don't know where they're getting it or how it's like being imposed on them. But I guess it's like, you don't have a lot of time in your life. And so you just take somebody's word for it. And and then it becomes some issue in your life that you have to talk to other people about.
Yeah. And none of it makes your life better. So like, Ryan, talking about media manipulation, that's exactly what Pope Leo responded to this. He's like, look, it is not in these are direct quotes. It is not in my interest at all to directly engage Trump on Iran. And he said, this is a quote, there's been a certain narrative that has not been accurate in all of its aspects because much of the political situation created when, and on the first day of the trip, the president of the United States made some comments about myself. Much of what has been written since then has been more commentary on commentary, trying to interpret what has been said. Look, the media will hear Pope Leo say something like, God's not on the side of people who wage war, or there's tyrants bringing war to the world, and they say, oh, he's talking about Trump. That may have been, but it probably was not his intention. Could have been about Putin. Maybe it was about Putin. Maybe it's about a warlord in Cameroon. Dude, you don't know, but you hear one little quote, and then it makes financially beneficial sense to say Pope Leo's talking shit about Trump. Let's run that article. Let's get clicks. Let's sell more whatever advertisements on the sidebar, and let's take our money and go home. And that's it, right? So the advertising media is untrustworthy because it is compromised by the bottom line being dollars. And Leo said that's not it. Like, these speeches that Trump was seemingly reacting to were written weeks in advance. You think the Pope just wakes up in the morning, cracks a can of Red Bull and lights up a lung dart and starts writing his homily for this trip? Like, those things have been done weeks in advance, right? And prepared. He's like, look, so before any of this, before Trump starts responding, these things are already prepared. And this wasn't about you. But if you have ears to hear it, maybe you should take it to heart. If you think I'm talking about you, maybe there's something you need to reevaluate about yourself. So
And that's how Christ spoke in the Gospels.
Yes.
I mean, he invited you into parables, into stories, and even these parables gave you like contextual windows to like, advance your soul into to have some introspection and allow a place for grace to come in your heart. Right.
Yeah.
That's what he's
like
doing.
the parable of the prodigal son. Like you can read that, and one day you're like, dude, I'm the prodigal son. And the other day you're like, I'm the one who never left but was still better. Like, if you're hearing something, maybe it's time for a self-reflection on that. But this kind of points down.
We all need it.
Absolutely. This points back to maybe the next thing to talk about, which is, Ryan, then after this kerfuffle, and I think we can call this unofficially as a kerfuffle, Trump then goes and posts on his platform, Truth Social, an image of him as, let's see if I can pull this up, an image of him as Jesus, healing people. Can you see that?
Yeah. What's he got in his hand on the left? Is that a fireball?
Dude, that is the power of friendship in MAGA.
Dude, this is funny.
I don't know.
There's like,
and you got,
like fighter jets and eagles and some people flying above,
demon looking
paratroopers.
Yeah, and then this dude.
There's a guy with a MAGA hat on.
Heck yeah, bro. And then this dude, I can only imagine he got infected by the liberalism when he was in San Francisco, and Trump is healing him of.
He's got the woke mind virus.
He's healing him of the woke mind virus. Oh, look, dude. So everyone's like, wait a second. And dude, this is not the first time Trump is like, I remember during the conclave last year, he posted a picture of himself as the Pope. And then he's posting this image of him. Yeah. And now he's posting this image of him as Jesus, and then he's trying to walk it back. Like, no, that's not, I thought that was just me taking, look, we're big fans of Red Cross. I thought this was Red Cross, and it was me as a doctor. What, dude? What kind of Red Cross doctors have angels coming out of the sky and glowing hands and healing people? Like, dude, that's ridiculous. And like,
and chasubles on.
Right? Dude, come on.
Who made that?
AI.
Do you remember? I think it was his first term, and like, I pray for Trump. I pray for all of our politicians. So we're not like picking on him. He's just posting this, and it's kind of amusing. Do you remember when I think it was like a church near my old office on K Street? So I think it was 7th. And I think either somebody got shot there. It was some tragedy, like a bomb exploded or something like that. And obviously he, did a good thing to make himself visible to talk about our freedom of religion. And as a president, as a leader, that was great that he, made an appearance for that. But he had this Bible, and it was like he was showing off this Bible the whole time. He's like,
it was upside down.
And it was upside down. And he's like showing it, and it's like, okay, all right, that's pretty funny, like the way you're doing
probably an honest mistake, funny, but probably an honest mistake. And like you said, look, this is not just a bag on Trump.
No,
dude, largely, I am very apolitical.
Me too.
I'm center right. For anyone wondering, I did not vote for Trump, and I did not vote for Biden. In fact, I did not vote because neither of those candidates I felt reflected my values. Okay. But I've never voted liberal in my life. And I typically vote Republican or conservative or independent if it's available. So it's not like I'm not unsympathetic to the right, but it's also like I don't understand the desires of the left. But this kind of behavior by the sitting president of the United States to start fights with the Pope, say he's not a fan. The only reason he's the Pope is because I'm from America and they wanted a Pope who could challenge me.
Shut up.
He said that? Dude, shut up.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, dude. He's like, and I like the Pope's brother because he's MAGA. The lack of decorum, the lack of decorum from the sitting president of the United States is, to me, shocking.
Yeah.
You could not imagine Dwight D. Eisenhower doing this. Could you imagine Dwight D. Eisenhower be like, Pius XII's a loser. The only reason that they wanted us to come to Europe is because they were back in the Nazi, like this kind of stuff. Like, you just don't do that. And then you got, I think, also a lot of people are getting kind of sick of Trump's promises on the right. And you see kind of a mass deflection. And I think this moment between the Pope and these images is really breaking. Trump won the Catholic vote by more than any Republican president since Richard Nixon. And I think that block is breaking away over all this. But Trump hasn't kept any of his promises. He said, America first, no more endless wars. We're going to be so financially set. And look, the economy's terrible. Yeah, Epstein. There's been no arrest in the Epstein files. We've started war upon war with Venezuela and with Iran and supporting operations in Lebanon and just none of his promises. So people are breaking with him over that. Now, also the left-wing media sees this as an opportunity, like, oh, let's really drive the wedge between Catholics and Trump because he's attacking the Pope. So they are all aboard. You look at every late night talk show host, they are like, oh my gosh, the Pope is the greatest thing ever. And I can't believe they don't give a shit about the Pope. They don't care about Catholics. They just want to go after Trump on this. So like both sides are disgusting here.
Yeah. I think this is another reason why so many people in the phenomenon of podcasts where, you can listen to somebody talk in long form and it's like relaxing, but it also brings contextual environments into play, which are so important when you're digesting information. Has been such a growing phenomenon in our media culture. Thank God. I think it saved us from so many different things that could have happened with media manipulation, because that is exactly what is going on in our world. It's like, I forget what I was watching, but it might have been like the national championship football game. I don't watch a lot of TV either. Big surprise. And my son's like, Dad, every ad is like a medicine. And he's like, and I don't even know what they're talking about. And I was just like, huh, like, yeah, like what's going on? Like, it's like the medicine companies are like basically buying up all the blocks for advertising. And then it's like, talk to your doctor about it. And he's like, don't doctors prescribe that? And I'm like, yeah, they do. So what, like you just ask your doctor and then they prescribe it to you? I was like, no, when we used to go to the doctor, they'd say, hey, this is what's wrong with you. Here's the medicine for it. Now it's like, I don't know. It's pills everywhere.
Money doesn't talk, Ryan. It swears, to quote Bob Dylan.
It swears. Power too. Power doesn't talk. It swears. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. Like now, as somebody who is classically conservative, I would consider myself a James A. Garfield Republican, right? I'm all about the proper democratic republic, one nation under God, to the republic type, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trump has started war after war after war. Biden started war after war. Obama started war after war. Bush, Clinton, Bush, they're all been starting wars and bombing all these other countries in ostensibly and oftentimes probably, if we're being realpolitik, in the benefit of American interests. But it is specifically enshrined in the Constitution that Congress has the right to declare war, not the president. And there's a good reason for that. So that you don't just get some guy in there who just starts wars with countries. You have to take your elected officials that the people vote into office to then come together and make an agreement that it is the will of the people to declare formal war. But now you have unilateral executive power starting. These are not police actions. This is not, hey, there's somebody blockaded this, we have to go send some troops there immediately. No, this is killing heads of state. This is bringing in special forces and extraditing presidents of countries. This is bombing that costs tens of thousands of lives at the will of one person who does not have the constitutional power to do it.
Wow, I never thought about that.
Whether you're left or right, you should absolutely demand that, look, if we are going to have large-scale military operations anywhere in the world, that it should be your elected officials are the ones who are debating and deciding to officially declare war, not the will of one man. That is a dangerous and terrible precedent, maybe the worst precedent that has been started by the government since World War II, in my opinion.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's so wildly dangerous. You know, and again,
it makes sense because our Constitution is a really wonderful working document too.
It is.
You know,
it is. And I believe in the Constitution, you know?
Yeah, I do too.
I believe that is the founding principles of our country. We should follow it. And that's one of them, right?
Yeah.
So, you know.
I mean, where does all this take us to? Like, it should take us to prayer like John Paul II. He read, you know, he knew 11 languages, or 13. So he'd have 30 different newspapers, and obviously there was a Cold War and all these different things going on. And every day, you know, he'd read all these things. And somebody asked him, he said, this is how I build one of my prayer lists for people to pray for, countries to pray for, leaders to pray for. Well, guess who was instrumental in, you know, taking down this Cold War? It was not just Reagan, you know, Gorbachev, but it was also the Pope's involvement. He had a prayer life, you know, that spoke into that. Right.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we need to be more like him and use some of these things as our, you know, prayer list, you know, like we need to pray.
Yeah, like
I mean, how many Catholics who hate the fact that he's talking trash about the Pope, you know, vehemently have ever like prayed for him? I mean, I think that's
legitimately prayed for him,
legitimately prayed for his well-being.
Yeah, God, I'm so great. I know that you created a total piece of crap in Donald Trump. I know you were having an off day when you created Trump, but if you could, maybe make sure he doesn't screw it all up. No, like legitimately pray for the man because he is in an incredibly important position of power. And the earliest Christians would pray for Caesar. The Christians under the occupation of the caliphs would pray for the caliphs to have wisdom and to have peace. And we should pray for our elected officials, whether it's Donald Trump or a Republican or a Democrat. We should pray for world leaders. I know that every mass I go to during the intentions they say, and for
church leaders,
wisdom and peace, and church leaders and people across the world. We should be praying for those people and legitimately mean it. So you should be praying for Trump. You should be praying for who is ever in charge, who hasn't been blown up in Iran. You should be praying for a conversion of heart for the leaders of Hezbollah. You should be praying for the people who are killing Christians in Nigeria. You should be praying for Benjamin Netanyahu, who's trying to use America as its arsenal and start war after war. Pray for him. Pray for his conversion. Pray for all of these world leaders to find ways to create more peace and use dialogue, which is what the Pope is calling for. So if you want to criticize the Pope for that, go ahead. I'm on the side of the Pope here.
Me too. Well, I mean, he's not on a side. That's the thing. So he's on the side of Christ.
That's it. So crazy times. And Ryan, there's so much more we could talk about. And we don't typically do episodes like this, but we are going to be in the studio next week. So this was a good time to kind of talk current events. So we'll be back in the studio next week. Next Monday, we'll be doing a live episode, live Q&A with Ryan, myself, and Father Nixon. And then we're going to be doing a whole new batch of episodes down there at our new studio, which we are extremely grateful for. And the only reason that we can do that, travel and bring Father Nixon and go to that studio and have the editing and all the lights and the great work that's being done there is by your support. So if you go to catholictalkshow.com/Patreon, you can see all the different ways that you can financially support us so that we can continue to do the Catholic Talk Show. And it's really easy to support us. We're not asking for large donations. like as little as $5. But when you all come together and you give us a little support, it goes a long way. We reach millions of people a year, and it's because of your generosity. And we have great gifts that we can give you in our gratitude, like devotionals and apparel, hats, hoodies, and all sorts of things. So go check out a tier, and if it's in your budget and in your heart to support us, we'd be really grateful if you did. Also, if you're watching this, click the like and subscribe button. It's the easiest way to help us get our content to reach more people. I think we're pretty even-keeled people. I think we don't take crazy hot takes. I think that we do a good job in presenting the beauty of the church, both in a fun way, but in also a very straightforward way, and we don't really pull punches. So if you like that and you think that our type of message about the church should reach more people, click like and subscribe and share. It really helps us a lot. So Ryan, typically don't do news episodes, but I don't know.
Hey man,
too crazy
some of
not
the
to
stuff
this week.
I haven't heard about, and it's pretty amusing to me. But
Yeah.
you know,
I think
kinda
we should
sad
fast
too,
to our
but-
phone. You know what? Here's a couple things that we could do. I think everyone looking at the destruction of this statue by Israeli forces, or the destruction of that St. George statue, the church is being destroyed, should pray an act of reparation. The golden arrow to the Sacred Heart, those types of prayers.
we should put a link in the
yeah.
YouTube video for that, so that people can pray that.
Yeah, pray acts
Powerful.
of reparation for those blasphemies. And then also, remember, pray for our elected officials, pray for their wisdom, pray that their hearts are moved towards peace and to dialogue, and that we have less war, not more war. I think that's all of our homework this week.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We're excited to be back in the studio next week for that live episode. We'll see you next week.